Sweet the whispers in your ear whenever ember wanders near.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah.
What were you
What
saying?
did you think of the AI
Wait, 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 wait,
controversy with people have been
wait.
really mad at it again because of the whole thing with
NTE?
streamers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you
Well,
talking
just like in
about with
general.
yeah, like well, like I was talking about this at the beginning of stream, and like the whole thing
Mhm,
with with Mouse and Lily is it's honestly there's a whole lot of nothing going on here, but it's in terms of the AI usage. If we're gonna speak broadly about it, like AI usage
mhm.
is coming and its usage is only going to increase. That is simply facts. It's we're
Yeah,
seeing its
of course.
extensive use in corporations
Wait,
itself
wait,
in
wait, wait,
terms of
wait,
the art world. AI has been used in like the art world, such as like
Yeah.
videos and in games. Probably for the last, I want to say it's probably been in use in some degree, probably for the last 10 years. We're only seeing it now used in a more verbose and visual way. In the last like year
Mhm,
or two is when we've seen AI actually used in a sort of, let's call it in your face kind of way, where it's actually on the screen versus in the background code. And in terms of
mhm.
like what happened with the controversy with Lily and with Mouse, that sounds more like it's not an issue with the use of AI. It's supposedly, according to what I've been hearing, is the issue was supposedly Mouse and Lily were unaware of the AI usage before they agreed to the sponsorship. Now, there's been people that are saying like, well, in an interview just prior to the game's release, they did, the developers did say yes, there is AI in it. They talked about utilizing
Mhm.
aspects of AI. I think it was like for like billboards, or I think there was like this like television short that used AI. And people said, well, they
Yeah.
said it in an
Mhm.
interview just before, and so Mouse is like, I don't know if they're classifying as two-faced or whatever. Like she took the money and now she's complaining. When it's the way that she and Lily put it, as I understand it, is they were not informed of the AI used beforehand, and that was the problem. Is that they were unaware of its usage prior to going into the collaboration. Now, whether or not that's true,
Mhm.
whether or not because they're both big giant streamers, they have teams of people, so maybe there was an issue in communication where her team was not communicating properly and did not inform them of it, and maybe that's
Yeah.
the problems. Like because they were uninformed, it kind of got jumped on them, and so they had a problem with it lying. I don't actually know what their stances are on the AI on the use of AI itself. Honestly, it sounds like a giant, like really kind of sounds like a big nothing to me. But the reality is, and this is
Mhm.
something that they're gonna have to accept, is that AI especially in like art is happening.
Mhm.
It's going to happen. It's going to, continue to increase in the level of usage that happens, and people like complaining about it is not going to stop it. It's it's essentially the next evolution in at least in the art world. It's the next evolution in art. I did make a parallel some time ago that this is kind of the same thing where it's it started off as writing on writing on caves, and then it transitioned
Mhm.
to etching stone tablets, and then it started to painting hieroglyphics, and then it transitioned to writing on parchment, then it transitioned to paper, then it transitioned to the printing press, and so on and so forth. And same thing with art. It's like, painting on canvas, and then you had cameras come onto the scene, and artists were like, oh, this is going to ruin art. Well, cameras did not ruin art, and cameras got bigger and bigger and bigger, and then transitioned into film cameras. And you had the same
Mhm.
argument. This is going to destroy photography. AI, I think, is along the same trajectory where people are saying, oh, it's going to destroy art, when it's kind of honestly the next evolution from digital cameras, where the next evolution is now
Yeah.
AI art, and this is just simply the next evolution of it.
So this is kind of interesting though. So I had someone in chat just say, so someone in the chat says that Lily said that AI is bad unless it's for writing. And this is kind of funny because we're both writers. Have you
Bad
noticed this kind of
unless it's for
sentiment?
writing?
Yes.
So just on
Or
understanding.
so
So
I'm
Lily said that using AI for writing is good. Am I understanding that correctly?
is fine. Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Let's see. I'm trying to look it up here because it says um so this is interesting. So I'm looking. I just had like AI look for it. So again, I don't know. This is kind of like surface level research. I haven't like looked into the
Mhm.
I have to like look into like the videos and stuff like that, right? But allegedly,
Sure.
according to Grok, who did some research off of that query, um, that there's no problem with NPC generated dialogue or whatever if it makes a good story. And then it says basically here, it's um it's fine for AI unless it's generative AI when it comes specifically to art and visuals. And like, see, this is what I mean. This is so weird. And it says,
Yeah.
as a VTuber works closely with artists, it was exploitative. And this is the quote: "Imagine you work on something, you create a thing, hard work and effort, and then someone comes along and grabs thousands of whatever and sells your stuff for profit." I mean, that's not really how it works, but anyway, it's kind of
Oh, I've got something to say
Have
about
you
that too,
noticed the
but continue.
sentiment? Have you noticed that kind of sentiment, like, as a writer yourself? Because like, I have as a writer. I've
Uh,
had, I made a post about this, like, I've had specific other VTubers who are very, very against AI art, and, like, since I use AI art, like, they had something to say to me, right? And, I've had people to my face tell me, "Yeah, I'm not for AI art, but I use it for writing because it's just writing." And, like,
yeah,
as
it's
a writer, I'm like, like, do you feel this? Have you gotten the same sentiment from other people or?
I haven't because honestly, AI being used for writing hasn't honestly come up with me. That particular subject matter hasn't come up to me. Now, how do I feel about that? With AI, with having any issue with AI writing. I mean, the fact is, uh, Meta stole a couple of my books to program their AI several years back, a couple of years back. A couple years back, Meta like hoovered up like hundreds of thousands or even millions of literary works to program
Yeah.
their AI. And one or two of my
Mhm.
books was amongst that. I looked it up, and they'd actually taken one or two of my books to program their AI. And
Mhm. Ember
honestly, I
Paradox
haven't
is so
seen
cute.
that.
I can't handle
I,
it.
I'm I'm
She's
honestly
so
a
cute.
little bit ambivalent about it, and there's a reason. And this ambivalence kind of also applies to visual AI art as well, because the way I view it
Mhm.
is people say like, oh, it's theft. Here's the way I view with the AI, and I apply this to visual art, but you can also apply it to the written art as well. When it comes to
Mhm.
art in and of itself, every single artist, almost, oh, okay,
Mhm.
99.999% of artists throughout history have, effectively speaking, either borrowed from or quote unquote stolen from other artists, because that is where
Mhm.
they achieve their inspiration. They see
Ember
another
Paradox
artist's
is so
work
cute.
and they go,
I can't
oh,
handle
I
it.
like that. I'm going
She's
to
so
do my
cute.
own, but I'm going to do it in that style. I like that style. So I'm going to use
Ember
that
Paradox is so
style
cute.
and do
I
something
can't handle it.
myself. So
She's so
effectively
cute.
speaking,
Mhm.
that is borrowing or quote unquote stealing from that other artist. And the way I look at it, AI is effectively doing the same thing in this respect. It is
Mhm.
capable of taking in hundreds of thousands, millions of different artists' styles and works simultaneously
Yeah.
and be able to apply that to what the art that it's generating. But it is effectively the same thing as every artist throughout history that has seen a piece of artwork, be it printed, sculpture, what have you, and said, I like that. I want to make something and I'm going to do it in that style, and they do it. So it's kind of, again, we're talking about evolutions of art. This is kind of the next evolution of art, and it's the same that has been done for thousands of years in the art world already.
hmm Yeah, and even when it comes to, I think some of the controversy. I mean, as far as I know, again, I haven't really looked too deeply into this, but for the was it NT game, there was some pictures or like videos that were kind of um like poses from specific anime or whatever, but people have done that, even that, where they've taken like a screenshot from an anime and then have done that screenshot over again, or an illustration, and have done that over again with different characters. I've seen many artists do this. So it's like, I don't understand like the I don't know, and this is why, like, I just feel like it's incredibly inconsistent, like, kind of like
Share
what
100,
Asmongold
share
said on the
100,
topic.
share
It just
100,
feels
share
that the
100.
enforcement of everything is not really based on any real reality. It's just based on, like, my feelings. That's
Well, it is, and to that degree, I think a lot of it stems from where people, particularly artists, because when artists complain about it, they're the best comparable I can make is Jurassic Park. You've seen Jurassic Park, I'm guessing, yes?
yeah,
So do you remember that
the
scene
one
in
movie I
Jurassic
did
Park
watch.
where the scene in the beginning where Jeff Goldblum is
Amber
talking
Paradox is
about
so
what
cute.
John
I
Hammond
I
did,
can't
and he
handle
said
it.
the
She's just
problem
so
is
she's so
the
cute.
problem he has with it is it didn't take any work to achieve it. They stood on the he stood on the shoulders of geniuses and basically peddled off of their work beforehand, and then they're packaging it and slapping it on a lunchbox. And I think that is probably what the big complaint a lot of people has, is that by using AI art, the individual who uses AI art didn't go to art school. They didn't spend all this time honing their craft in art school. And literally all they have to do
Mhm.
is just write a prompt, and then they can create something that an artist, that like someone who has gone to art school, spent years learning and refining, and then taking
Yeah. Amber
days or
Paradox is
weeks to
so cute.
create.
I
Whereas with
can't
AI
handle it.
art, it
She's just
now
so
literally
she's so
happens in
cute.
seconds. And I think a lot of people are upset about the fact that this is
Yeah.
that all that time and effort the artists have put in now suddenly, in their mind, suddenly means nothing because now it can be done with the AI. I think that's a big part of why people, especially artists, have this objection. They feel it minimizes their
I guess like
craft.
and I know this isn't your argument, but I guess what I would then say next is, can we verify that time is valuable in terms of time spent? Does time spent equal, does that have any merit? Like, I don't know if it does. Like, I've thought about this. I don't know if it necessarily has any inherent value, because, like, for instance, like, you could structure a case in which a person spends 6 months on something, but it's just unappealing to anybody, right? The time spent doesn't give it inherent value.
Correct. Yeah, I agree with that. It is
Mhm.
like when you're talking about sheer time spent, no, the couldn't if you're only looking at a chronological standpoint of it, that in and of itself does not make something great. If a great deal of time spent combined with skill creates something great, well, then you've got something else entirely. But the time put
Mhm.
into it in and of itself does not mean, realistically speaking, putting the fifis aside, just saying I put so much time into this does not mean anything if you are not achieving either the desired result or a desirable result for others.
Yeah, it's like it's what is the end product for
It-
the value, the what is the end value of the thing, total value, right?
Exactly.
And like I had this like same argument with my mom. Like me and my mom actually disagree with each other on this. My mom believes that effort
Ember
is
Paradox is so
valuable. I
cute.
don't.
I
So
I
it's like
can't handle it. She's
again,
just
like
so
I don't
she's
know.
so cute.
You know, people are going to be on different sides of this argument. Like again, even me and my mom don't agree on this. But yeah,
It's when it well
it's
in terms
yeah.
of in terms of like saying is effort valuable. That one is not quite so simple. It's again, we are talking about what is the end result. Like, is the effort valuable? Well, the effort can be valuable if you have a positive end result. Think of how many times you have heard the expression, "I wasted all that time and effort and came up with nothing." So
Yeah.
in a situation like that, then apparently the time and the effort was not valuable. And I mean, the expression in and of itself is a bit for sympathy. Like, oh, I wasted all the time and effort. You're
Mhm.
saying that specifically so you can get sympathy for your literal waste of time and effort. So again, it's the
Yeah.
end result that dictates. It kind of is the end
Ember
result
Paradox is so
dictating
cute.
whether or not
I can't
both
handle it. She's just
has
so
any
she's so cute.
value with the specific task that you have set yourself out to.
So the like I guess I could agree with that in that effort in of itself is not where the value lies. The value lies in the end result, but then the end result could then confer value to the effort based on the
Right.
end result being valuable in of itself. That makes sense. I think I can agree with that. Yeah.
Mhm.
But again, that makes it so that the value of the effort is directly tied to the actual um like the effort on its own has no value. It requires like a reflection of the end product. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Mhm.
And well, I fully appreciate that is a rather cold view of it. I mean, on his face when you say effort is no value except for what the end results of said effort turn out to be, and it on its face that is
Mhm.
a very cold and logical sentiment, and it is,
That's how I
and
am.
I mean, but that is reality. That is the reality of it. Now,
Mhm.
am I going to have that kind of approach with someone who has put in time and effort and does not achieve the desired result that they have? No, I will be sympathetic that, and herein lies the dichotomy where it's, where if someone does put in time and effort, you can see that they put time and effort and even passion into trying to do something,
Mhm.
and that something does not play out or doesn't play out like they had hoped to. You can certainly be
Mhm.
sympathetic because while like intrinsically time and effort does not have any value except for what the end result of said efforts are, you can also be sympathetic that a person basically used up that time in their life and they exerted that effort and that focus into trying to create or do something, and in the end result did fail. And you can be somewhat sympathetic to them because
Yeah,
they are
it's
basically
true.
wasting commodities effectively, particularly the time. Time is a commodity, and they did like burn through chronological currency in an attempt to do something. And if it doesn't pan out, you can be, I absolutely can be sympathetic with someone that puts time and energy into something and it doesn't pan out because they did expend a form of currency trying to
Ember
get that.
Paradox is so cute. I can't
Mhm.
handle it. She's just so
Yeah,
she's so cute.
I think we can then from there make a determination that it only matters when love is involved, I think. As in like if
In
you
Yeah.
have any love for that specific person,
Mhm.
then that would then convert their effort into like you would appreciate their effort from the
Sure.
standpoint of love.
Yes.
But if you don't have
Yes.
that love, then it would be valueless. So again,
Not
like I guess
necessarily. Not necessarily. I'll slightly disagree with
well,
that.
if you
Like
don't
if you're
care.
if okay, yeah, if you don't care, yeah, but like you can also translate that love not necessarily to a person, but you can also translate that love that you're
Mhm.
referring to in a love for the thing that they're working on. So in terms of art, they could have poured a lot of love into the piece of art that they were trying to create. So while it's not going to a person, it is going to, a passion that they have. And so there is a bit of translation there from like person to task, I think, to a degree
Ember
anyway.
Paradox is so cute. I can't handle
So
it.
it's like
She's just so she's
a
so
lo-
cute.
like the love could not be directed at the person, but it could be directed specifically at the art form.
If there's no other person
The effort
involved, if
involved
like
in
it's
that.
just if it's just you alone and you have love and passion for, doing your art, then that love can be translated or can be transmitted into the art that you're trying to create with the absence of another person present, that love would be lavished upon in this respect.
Mm. Yeah, fair enough, I think. Mhm.
It's very
A passion
complicated.
project.
It's very like, how shall I put it, wibbly wobbly, timey wimey. When you talk about something, yes, you're talking about you're talking about not simply just like non-physical quotients. You're also talking about metaphorical quotients at the same time that don't have, and that we're kind of trying to apply substantiveness to things that are, effectively speaking, kind of insubstantial. So it's difficult to kind of lock down.
Yeah, it's like I guess the question is like, I mean, it seems completely like the value of the effort. The value of the effort in the case of the effort itself just seems overly subjective to me. Like
It can be.
it seems like, because if you don't like the person, right, then I don't really care about their effort at all. Right? Like if there's a person I actively dislike and it makes something crappy, so there's no value in it there, then I wouldn't
Ember
really care about
Paradox
the
is
effort
so
that they put
cute.
into it, I
I
suppose.
can't
Like me
handle it.
personally.
She's just so
Okay,
she's so cute.
so we're now basically going with the concept of, if there is another person there and that other person, it is neutral, is completely neutral to the person that is creating the art in this case, and the person puts time and effort into the art does not come out well, then the person who is feeling neutral towards the artist is just like, I don't care, well, that was just wasted because I feel ambivalent to you. And there's, then it is a complete waste because
Well,
now that person's not even receiving anything from it, to the degree of not even receiving like sympathy as some kind of a quasi
there's
reward at the end.
yeah, because for instance, right, with the end result, as in like the value of the product, it is there is like an objective way that you can measure it, right? As in like, for instance, like money would be like an objective way that you could measure the value of the
It-
product, right? Whereas the
yeah,
effort, you can't really measure it that way, right? The effort is only based on the subjectivity of the viewer. It's in the eye of the
unless
beholder, basically.
unless and this is like obviously very niche. This could be more of a niche situation. Unless you are ascribing a monetary value to the effort, there are plenty of occupations out there where monetary value is placed upon effort.
Is there? Wait,
Well, like time spent doing something. Like well, I literally just had an occupational example in my
oh my
head
God,
and it
Ryan,
just flew
thank
away.
you. Sorry, Ryan, thank you so
Uh,
much for 10K. Thank you.
uh, what was the occupational example I was just thinking of? Um,
For like effort.
truck driving.
Like you mean like hourly pay or something like
Well,
that?
and
That's not
kind
really
of
a
sort of,
measure of
yeah, kind of
effort
sort of
though,
like
is it?
hourly pay. Like see, think about truck driving. Truck driving, there's not like not downplaying on you truck drivers out there. I've got a lot of truck drivers in my chat. I'm not downplaying you on this. I'm just using your occupation example. As a truck driver, there's, colloquially speaking, not a tremendous amount of effort being put into truck driving. You are driving a truck. There's, there is mental effort. You're driving a truck, you're driving it for long distances, and you are typically paid by your time when you're driving a truck. So in that case, the effort, minimal or maximal as it might be, into driving the truck does ascribe to a monetary value. So like what you said before, where it's like basically an hourly wage, you know, that's where you could
But you're paying for the
maybe
result, not the effort though, right? Like how hard they drove doesn't matter. All that matters is that they did the driving. As in like
And
the
her paradox is so
sometimes.
the
cute. I
labor
can't
the
handle it.
labor
She's just
was
she's so
completed,
cute.
right? Because then
True.
if they didn't complete it, then you would consider yourself to have gotten scammed, as in you didn't actually receive the product, right? And then if they told you, well,
That's
I tried really hard, that doesn't matter, right?
I actually have something for that. And actually it's a different occupation entirely. Truck driving
Mhm,
wouldn't apply to this. So, but there are
mhm.
certain jobs where if you put in more effort to it, you get a bonus. My job, as a matter of fact,
What do you
it's
mean
like
by effort
I get
though? Like,
paid
what
an
do you mean
hour,
by
I
that?
get paid an hourly wage, and I do my job. But if I put in the effort and I exceed basically workload, so to speak, then I might receive a bonus. So I might receive extra
Isn't that
monetization.
output though?
But that
But
output
isn't
is
that
tied
output?
into
Because you're
effort. That output is tied in effort.
is
If
it
I
tied
just
to
did
effort or is it tied to go ahead,
Well,
sorry.
I would say I'd say there's a tie to effort because if I just basically just, you know, just did the work, same speed, the entire time, then I would get paid as
And her
normal. But
paradox is
if I
so
put in
cute.
extra effort
I
to
can't
be
handle it.
faster,
She's
Uh-huh.
so cute.
to do more
Okay.
output, that is putting in effort
Mhm.
towards getting that higher output, and that extra effort from the higher output would result in a monetary gain. Now, you are correct in that there is an intrinsic tied in value, tied in effort to results. So there is that tie-in, but you do have that additional effort resulting in those additional, resulting in the additional results. But the
So, like
combined two does prescribe a
mhm.
monetary value.
Okay, but so, like, say, like, we set up a situation, right, where say there was Ember, and then there's Ember Alter, and Ember Alter was less skilled. There was, like, a clone of Ember that was, like, less good, right?
Eh,
And then, you know, Ember B, basically, who is less effective, put in more effort, but then achieved the same result as Ember A. Like, would
eh,
they value would they value Ember B more then?
Okay, so
If Ember
let me
B
just
did
make
less, but had more
yeah.
effort?
Okay. I see. Okay, I
Yeah.
see where you're going with that. Yeah, I see.
Mhm.
So in yeah, I no, I can't. I see what you're saying there. Yeah, I got to agree. It's if you're
Mhm.
looking at it in that context where the effort in and of itself if the effort in itself basically brings you to a level of normalization, then yeah, I can see
Mhm.
why that effort would effectively not have any intrinsic value because that extra effort only brought you into a state of normalcy.
Yeah,
So
that's
yeah,
what leads me
I
to believe
yeah,
that the value of effort is specifically requires love for the person or the art itself. Because otherwise the art it's completely subjective as to like the levels of love that the person has to be able to observe that effort as being valuable.
true, true.
Yeah.
I can
I
agree
think
with
that's the
that. I can
problem.
agree with that.
Maybe that's the problem. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe the problem is that artists, they love art so much, I guess. I don't know. I can't really get into their heads, right? Maybe they love the art so much that they perceive a specific
And
value
her
in the
paradox
effort
is
that
so cute.
nobody else
I
can
can't
see
handle it.
because we don't
She's
love
so
it to the
cute.
same level.
Absolutely, I'd agree with that. Like when the artists, I'd say very often will see what the non-artists cannot. You see this all the time with people that self-proclaimed art experts that are talking about, oh, the artist was trying to create this or trying to create that, and they try to profess to be the
Yeah.
artist side. But the reality is, unless you are the artist him or herself, you don't know what was in their mind's eye when they were creating that art. And I absolutely agree that the artist will certainly ascribe more value to their piece above and beyond what others will on a very basic level. Obviously, create art, spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on it. The artist only spent like $20 in materials. But in terms of
Yeah.
intrinsic value, or metaphorical value, yeah, I agree. The artist probably does find a great deal higher value in a work that they craft with love versus the mere observer.
Yeah, that's the disconnect because I can see like consumers of art not necessarily caring that much about the process, right? So like since they don't care about the process, they care for the results of that process, the product at the end, then again, the effort to them is not really worth as much. So then it would create a disconnect in it would create a disconnect in the observation of like the artist as to like the entire value of the thing compared, because they're again factoring effort as being a part of that value, whereas the end consumer does not, because they don't have that specific angle of love to the level that the artist has.
And
That's the disconnect right there.
I can absolutely
that's
agree
what
to
it
that.
is.
Yeah, I like the
Mhm.
absolutely, like there are many people that they like try to proclaim like, oh, they can what's the word I'm looking for? Not sympathize. They can oh goodness, I've lost the word that I wanted to use. It's I don't want to say pretend because that's empathize. Yeah, I think empathize is the word I'm probably looking for. They like they will say that like they can empathize with what the artist may have gone through when they go to create work, but the reality is they can't. They say that, they say like, oh, this person must have gone through so much pain putting this on the canvas, or you can feel the joy that they imparted on the canvas, but they're honestly
Yeah.
just pretending to make themselves seem like they know what they're talking about. And the reality is they're not in that artist's head. They have no idea what that artist actually went through. Even if the artist was to explain it to them, the artist would only be able to explain it in base words, in base verbiage. And we were talking about trying to convey your thoughts. The English language very often is not adequate to be able to convey what is going on inside your own head. It's why so many of us like will stumble over our words and we're trying to explain something because it's crystal clear in our heads, but the English language fails us in being able to properly convey it. And I think that's kind of where you're going, where it with the artist, there's so much more going on in their own mind's eye than any outside observer can really truly comprehend in the end.
You know what I find though, with what you were talking about earlier with empathy and them feeling like they're particularly empathetic, I actually think they're less empathetic
To what degree,
because
or how so?
because they are incapable of th- they're incapable of understanding other forms of art, like giving love to other forms of art that are not their own. And I think this has like been shown constantly. And again, I go to the writing thing as proof of like, oh, well, AI is fine if it's writing, just as long as it's not illustrative art, or AI art is all shit.
Yeah.
Right? Like I feel like that actually shows
Ember
more of a lack
Paradox
of
is so
empathy.
cute. I can't handle it. She's just she's so
Yes,
cute.
I mean it's that's you are correct. Like people that just go, "Oh, all AI or shit." Yeah, you're correct. That is a distinct lack of empathy because they're not looking at the person that's facilitating the AI art. They're not looking at what that person is facilitating or going through, or what's going on in their own mind's eye when they are trying to create this art through the AI. In a way, it's kind of the same, but because it's AI, and now we're going to be going into a more of a sociological aspect, is that AI art
Yeah.
has been
Mhm.
so demonized that they're basically trying to flip the script on it. And instead of being, claiming to be empathetic with the traditional medium artists, where they go, oh, they went through so much. You can tell you can tell the heart that they poured out onto the canvas. With AI art, they just see it as, oh, they're typing on a keyboard, and it's almost like a, what's the word? Like, this is gonna sound so trite, but it's like they're hoity-toity because now all of a sudden these people are
Mhm.
like art snobs, and they're like, oh well, you didn't actually like go through school. And again, we're going back to the whole argument of didn't go to the school, didn't take the time to hone the craft. You're just typing words on a keyboard. And so they basically dismiss it and go, well, that's not really art because you're just typing in a keyboard. Where with the one thing that they're forgetting is that for some of these truly tremendous works of AI art, I include you in this with, with the pieces that
Mm.
you put out, Leaflet, is that when
Mhm.
you are facilitating the prompts for the AI to create what you want, there is a great deal of not only skill, but also heart that goes into it because people like often think, oh, you just like type out, you plain English it on the keyboard into the AI and it creates the thing. When like, yeah, I will do
Mhm.
that with some of the stuff I'm creating, but the truly great works of art that we have seen, that requires a very highly detailed level of prompt that requires not only
Yeah.
skill in terms of what to put into the prompt, but a lot of heart of being able to convey the image you have into your own mind's eye into configuring the prompt the way you
Yeah.
want it. And some of these prompts, some of them are like literal paragraphs and paragraphs of script that you're putting into the AI just to create like a single image or 6 or 10 seconds of video. And so, in that respect, I think it absolutely is a same. It is very much the same as
Yeah.
the traditional medium artist that puts in the time and
Mhm.
effort to create their work. So do the AI artists. It's just not done in a way that people recognize, at least yet, as being a skill, an artistic type skill.
I think the best way to describe it is that if like a person would consider like a Lego sculpture to be art, right?
And
Because
some do.
then you would say if you consider a Lego sculpture to be art, then they didn't create the bricks. Like they bought the bricks from the store and then they put the bricks together into a specific configuration that then looks like a sculpture. Then you would just say that the AI videos, the AI images are just bricks,
Yeah. It's
right?
it, it's it, it's
Like
what a
does a
lot of people
collage count
say.
as art?
Yeah, it's just like what a lot of people say in regards to AI already is that AI is a very useful tool. AI is, it's the replacement for you're basically replacing brushes, pens, inks, and canvases with keyboards, hard drives, and monitors.
Mhm.
It's just different
You see,
tools.
this is why like I guess I don't understand people that um I feel like every single person I've spoken to that has been very, very anti-AI has been completely incoherent. Like I don't their entire like argument is it never makes sense. So like it would make sense for instance if they were to say for instance that the director is not an art like directors are not artists. He's like directors aren't artists. Again, like a Lego builder would not be an artist, and like you could maybe make the argument, but you can't really do that with you can't really do that at the same time and then say that AI is not art. I feel like it's incoherent, an incoherent argument.
And I think it's an incoherent argument because their argument is based solely on feelings, and they don't really
Yeah.
have any facts or substantive evidence that they can present to say why they don't feel like AI is art. It's all feelings, and when it's all feelings, and you've
I mean,
got
that's what I
no.
mean though.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that's what I mean though about how I actually find them to be less empathetic because I know why they don't like AI. Like I definitely understand why they don't like AI. Like I can emulate them to the point of understanding that. But I don't think they understand the other side at all. I think and this is obvious due to their incoherence of their argument. They're unable to basically emulate other people.
It's but you're right that there's a lack of empathy there, but there's also, I think, a degree of selfishness there, because I think with people like that just read about AI art and they scream about how AI is not art. I think there's they can't empathize with the with the artists themselves, but they're also, I would wager that a fair amount of them are also just looking for, they want to be offended. They either, they either want to be offended on behalf of the artist, whether or not that artist is offended or not, or they kind of get sucked into the generalized argumental zeitgeist of AI art is bad, and so they just want to contribute to that, I don't know, I want to say argument, just contribute to the dogpiling of AI art is bad because other people that I know or other people that I follow say AI art is bad, and I'm just going to follow along and say AI art
That's
is bad too because this person says it. So it's like the question is how many of them actually believe it, and how many of them are just playing game of like playing a Lenin game of follow the leader.
Like, it just feels to me that that's like again, I go back to, I guess, my point earlier, that it just feels like the ultimate expression of not loving thing of non-love. Because you don't even understand like why, you don't even understand your point on anti-ing the thing. Like, there's no basis behind it. There's no understanding for any of it. It's a total lack of understanding. It's like the opposite of empathy, is what I mean.
Yes. Oh yeah, I agree. And
And it's like
that's
they
what
say
yeah.
they act as if they're very empathetic, but
Oh yeah, very, like
yeah.
probably I'd say probably not a lot of people that that complain about AI art. Very few of them are probably empathetic even to regular artists, because I don't think that they're actually. I don't think they're outraged on behalf of artists in the long run. I think they're outraged for the sake of being outraged, because that's kind of not, now we're kind of delving into a whole different segment
Man, that's
of society.
nasty. It's nasty.
What?
I think about it and like I cringe, like it's nasty. It's such like that kind of thing that people do is just, it's the nastiest thing to me. Like, out of many things that a person could do, it's one of the highest forms of nastiness, I think.
Oh yeah. It's it's
I
just
guess why I have so much disdain
mm,
for these people.
yeah, it's the progression that we've seen throughout the last, 10, 20 years, is that it's not only opinions based purely upon feelings without, factoring in any facts or evidence. It's taking it to this incredibly heightened degree, because that has now become the norm now, is that we've got to be outraged from the sake of outrage, and our outrage has to get louder and louder every single time. And
Yeah.
it's mind-boggling sometimes the way that these people just start reading, and when you hear what they're reading about, it's just like, why? Why are you so upset about this? This is like, this is nothing. Like, what we started off on with this, with, the AI art, with the NTE thing, and, some of the other, like, not, I'm just going to say conspiracies, not conspiracies, controversies. Like some of the controversies that we've seen today, it's a lot of nothing, but people are going to, like, they're dialing it up to 11 with their outrage. And I honestly think it's just for the sake of being outraged. They're basically getting a sick, poisonous kind of satisfaction out of having
Mhm.
this outrage. And I legitimately question whether or not they even realize what they're being outraged about in the first place.
Yeah, it's hard to tell, like if it's even on, I guess, is there anything they can do about it? Like, maybe not, actually. Maybe it's
Well,
just,
it depends on the target. I think when it comes to, like, is there anything they can do about it? I think it very much largely depends upon the target. If their target of their outrage is of the degree that they will bend, which we've seen in recent days, like plenty of targets of said outrage, both individual and from a company or corporation standpoint. If they will bend, then their outrage is their outrage is in their eyes well founded because it received the results. If their outrage is directed against someone that just looks at them and just goes, "I don't fucking care," well then that outrage basically, it's the way I view it is like they're a toddler. They're going to throw a temper tantrum for a couple days and then move on to next thing they want to pretend is actually important because they didn't get results with this one, so they'll try and see if they'll get results with the next one, and they'll just keep jumping clauses, so to speak, over and over again.
There was a message in chat that says, "I'm worried about that people will stop seeing any other form of creativity as valid because AI can replicate it. I cannot see how anyone can argue that AI gen content has no soul or isn't creative as an aspiring transitional artist. That any form of creativity is valid." I guess
Yeah.
how I would feel about it is that progression in technology has always occurred, and the same thing happened with Photoshop, right? Where you have Photoshop, and now the value of like traditional art as far as like canvas in terms of utility has been lowered by quite a lot, right?
True.
So I don't know about people seeing it. I'm worried people will stop seeing any other form of creativity as valid. I don't really necessarily think it has to do with validity. I think it's more utility, right? Because digital art has a lot more utility to it than a physical painting, and the amount of things that you can do with it, like its replicability plus speed at which, like, and consistency, all of these things, right? And like I think AI will have the same kind of effect in which AI is more consistent. I don't know. What do you think about it, Ember?
Well, I think that like regular art will still have validity alongside AI. See, a lot of people are looking at this like, oh, AI is going to replace traditional art. I think AI actually can work alongside regular art. I think they can both exist simultaneously and can both still be appreciated. Like I can absolutely appreciate a piece of AI art that has been created. And I can also still greatly appreciate a piece of non-AI art that has been appreciated. So like people are acting like it's a replacement. And I look at it more of something working in tandem. And like both can be absolutely beautiful for what they present. And people are
Yeah,
looking at this like an all or
but it will
nothing
lower the
game.
value, though, right?
Will
It
it
will
lower
lower
the
the
value?
value, though. Like AI art lowers. It will lower the value of a lot of handmade art because it has less utility. There's more. So
Somewhat.
right now there is still like kind of an there, utility wise currently. There are things that handmade art is better at, and there are things that AI art are better at, right? Like for
Yeah.
instance, AI art is better at speed, whereas when it comes to hand drawn art, it's a lot better in customization and
Mhm.
like scope, right? Like like the more scope you have in an AI work, the more it degrades, right? Because there's only so much memory, right? That can like
Right.
be used in an AI thing, right? So like currently, like that's the advantage that handmade art has over AI. But at some point, that's going to change, right? And the amount of utility the AI has, like for instance, like how fast it is, right? Like if I were to
Mhm.
commission, like for instance, the thumbnail I made, like the little promo image I made there, that would take at least a month. Like
Mhm.
and that's assuming that the artist is like actually a pretty good one that's actually not gonna fuck around with me, right? That's
Sure.
still gonna take like at least a month to like get that actually finished, like out of iteration phases, right?
Mhm.
Whereas the amount of utility they have from being able to instantly use a thing, that's crazy. Right. So like I don't think there's any doubt that it will lower the value of art in terms of like its value in terms of utility.
Yeah, and that was something I was gonna be specific about. It's like what you're referring to is AI art can value utility of hand-drawn art in terms of speed and mass production. In terms of passion projects where it's not mass production, where it is works of passion, works of love, and they are basically like
Yes.
one-offs, I think it's actually going to increase the value. I think what we're going to see is with artists
Yeah,
that
I can agree with
create
that.
works of passion, those because they will be, they will be more unique in the respect of they were done by hand, they were not done by machine, and plus like the details or the change in the details can be more precise in what is, in a hand drawn art than AI, because when it comes to adjusting finer details in art, AI can be kind of limiting, because when you have like a really
Yeah.
fine detail, like say you want to adjust a single line on a gemstone to adjust its shape, very often an AI will struggle to get that very fine detail. Whereas with hand drawn art, in this case, hand drawn art would be superior because in those very fine details, hand-drawn art is much more effective at doing that than AI art. And so in terms of like, say, in the case of a VTuber mom, you have, could I create use AI to create my VTuber mom? Sure, I could. I could have AI create the art. But if there are like certain very fine details that I want to change in it, chances are AI is going to fail on that, because it's going to struggle or flat out fail to be able to really dig into those finer points and be able to separate out those a single line that can change the shape
Yeah.
of an object. AI will struggle or flat out not be able to do that, where an artist will. So in that respect, with in the example of VTuber model, a human artist doing it by hand will be much more valuable, because as that process goes, they basically create the base model, then they present it to you again, and you say, okay, I kind of want to change like this fine detail here and this fine detail here, so it changes shape here or changes shape there, where you add an extra line for like that extra little like fabric, that fabric fold detail that's done by a single line.
Hmm.
And the artist can do that, and so then you have that added value of being able to not only initially create but adjust ad nauseum, as the case might be, and there is an ascribed value to that would be actually higher than AI. It's kind of why good VTuber model artists can charge thousands of dollars for their art versus you just basically
Yeah.
throwing it up on AI, because you won't be able to get those adjustments, those fine corrections through the AI. So in that respect, I think hand-drawn art will actually increase in value on a more singular level versus mass produced. Mass produced, yeah, it will absolutely devalue hand-drawn
W-
art without question. I
will it?
agree with you
Will it
fully.
though? Because in the end, I mean, like for instance, AI is still in its infant stages, right? So like there is going to be like like again, like if you look at how AI was like 2 years ago versus
Mhm.
how it is now, it's
Mhm.
night and day, right? So like, what are we going to get
Sure.
in 2 weeks? In sorry, 2 weeks, 2 years? Are we going to get much more custom ability there? Like, is memory going to get better to the point that we will no longer have these issues, right? Which is why I think like there's really, I think it will lower the utility value, but I think in terms of the create like the I guess the communicative value, I
Mhm.
think will always be good for handmade art. I go back to I always use the example of knives. How like in
Yeah.
terms of utility, like machine made knives are like quite good. In fact, a lot of the times better than handmade
Mhm.
knives. But people still prefer handmade knives just because of the sentimentality of it. That's what AI lacks, the sentimentality.
I can agree with that. And it's, although I might go now, this is of course all dependent upon the individual artists themselves. Like you say it's they pay more for, or they get the handmade stuff versus the machine made stuff out of sentimentality. I
Yeah.
would
Hmm.
say that it's actually more of a perceived sentimentality. Now, if it's like coming from like, okay, say you have a family member who does this kind of craft, that does, like, we'll go with your example of knives. You have a family member that actually forges knives. They do it themselves from start to finish.
Yeah.
Then absolutely you have a sentimentality to it because someone that you love that is in your family made something for you. It's kind of like going back to your that argument you had on Side Scrollers about the bento box, where someone is making something for you, the bento box to nourish you, in the case of a knife, to offer you
Mm.
a utility tool. And someone is actually making that out of love and effort of love for you. So there's the sentimentality. So absolutely I agree with the sentimentality there. I do think that when
Thank you
it
for the rate,
comes
Carter.
to
Thank you.
I do believe that when it comes to someone purchasing a handmade knife where they have no relation to the crafter and they're literally just purchasing it, I think that that now we're looking into a sense of perceived sentimentality. They're saying, "Oh yeah, I want to buy this handcrafted knife because it is handcrafted, not necessarily because it is better than one that is assembly line produced from a major knife manufacturer that does a very good job, but they view that as that there's a kind of social I don't know if social currency would be the right word, so to speak, but they purchase that handcrafted knife so they can go, yeah, this knife is handcrafted, and they'll tell you that every chance they have the opportunity. So it's more like a perceived sentiment versus actual sentiment, and it's like the perceived sentiment for the purposes of showing it off to others to basically bolster themselves, like, I have this handcrafted knife. Well, you've got that machine thing, and sort of like now they're kind
I
of getting
see.
into the like I'm kind of better than you. So in respect when
So
you're referring to
the utility is
sentimentality,
social.
yes,
So the utility is purely social.
the sentimentality is purely social. The utility is there. If the knife if the knife is decently made and it has utility, it has utility. It's the sentimentality part of what you're referring to, I think, is more social.
No, I think that would still be utility, right? It would be utility. It would be social utility, like being able
Sure,
to, like it gives you value in terms of like your social standing.
sure. Okay, yeah, yeah. I see where you're going with that. Yes, yeah, I can agree with
Yeah.
that.
Mhm.